Ohayo gozaimasu from Fukuoka, Japan. And yes, we're sleeping on bunk beds because the rooms in Japan are tiny, but we don't mind. Today we are in Fukuoka, obviously, and we're going on our very first day trip here. If you haven't watched any of our videos from the last couple of weeks, we have been in the north of Japan, absolutely freezing to death. We were able to go and see the Ice and Snow Festival, and we were able to see the snow monkeys, and also dog sledding, which was a huge tick off of my personal bucket list.
So now we're down in the South Island of Kyushu, which is the southernmost island of Japan, excluding Okinawa and some of the chain islands down there. And we are gonna go check out Nagasaki, but we're also gonna do something super, super cool.
So it's not necessarily a bucket list item for me, but it is something that I've always wanted to do, and we happen to be at the right place at the right time. I love James Bond, and we're going to the James Bond Island today, the one that you saw in Skyfall. But we're 2 hours away, so we have to get there. By the way, our hotel room in Japan came with this little shoe putter on her stick, and now I can't live without it. I'm gonna get some when I settle down in a place.
Shoe putter on her stick?
What do you call these?
Isn't it called a shoehorn?
Is it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Our future clothing line. Bree's shoe putter on her stick.
This is really nice. Three trains later and we made it to Nagasaki, keeping in mind that we missed our first train and we also missed our bus to take us to the port, so now we're walking. But it's really beautiful here, so we're excited. How we doing, Jeff?
Rushing.
So we arrived at the island, and in terms of the James Bond history here, this island was actually called Ghost Island in the movie Skyfall. And this was about the time we got interrupted by the tour security and told we have to remain as close to our groups as possible due to the possible safety risks. So let me give you a quick breakdown of the history of this island and its relevance in the Bond film. Hashima, or Battleship Island as it's widely known, actually used to be a bustling coal mining island that came to an abrupt end in the early 1970s. It used to house over 5,000 people at the peak of its population before slowly losing residents with the depletion of the coal within the mine, though it wasn't until nearly 3 decades later that the last official resident of the island left for good. It wasn't until 2009 that the Japanese government saw so much public interest in the curious island that they decided to officially reopen it as a tourist attraction. But as the years slipped away, so did the upkeep of the island, and the concrete buildings and the seawalls began to wither away in time, which is probably why it made a perfect filming location for Skyfall, third installment of the James Bond films featuring Daniel Craig. Essentially, the villain in the film, Raul Silva, was a computer genius, and he was able to successfully evacuate an entire island for his evil headquarters, which is where the island came into play. James Bond ends up following the Bond girl of Skyfall to the abandoned island, and they walk through the decaying streets of the island as she explains how he was able to evacuate it all for himself. But anyway, then the villain ties her up and says, "Shoot her," but not quite like how that one guy said it in Jurassic Park. Shoot her! So we made it back to port, and we are sitting in front of a Lawson's eating egg sandwiches. If you don't know, now you know. Come to Japan and get one of these. They're life-changing. But anyway, the tour was really good. I'm glad we went. Some things that we didn't know beforehand is that you had to stay with your group, which actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're in a literal crumbling city, so it's probably not safe to go off on your own. However, we were pretty bummed that we weren't able to go and explore, especially to see the last remaining shrine on the island, so keep that in mind if you go. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can't really film because you're with the group the entire time, and if you're with the group, all you're going to hear is them talking in Japanese, and we obviously don't speak Japanese, so we didn't get a ton of information just by listening. However, we were able to read the brochure that they gave to us in English and able to learn a lot that way. But overall, glad we saw the island. It's definitely crumbling down, so if you get a chance to go and see it, go and see it.
So thank you so much for watching. If you're a Dark Tourist or James Bond fan, or you just love everything Japanese like we do, definitely go check it out. Highly recommend it as a day trip from Nagasaki, or if you're in Fukuoka like we are, just know that it does lead to a long day. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe so you catch our next movie.